Last talk for today, Joshua Davis.
Thanks. Yeah, can whoever's doing the lights? We don't need to see me. It's more about up there. If you can just turn that down, whoever you are, light person. Yes. Hi. Oh shit. Last talk, and then we get to party, and I like to party. Yeah. This is totally not going to be 45 minutes. I'm sorry. It's going to be like 3 hours. So I hope you have enough beer. Mark asked me to speak, and basically what I try to do is I try to think of an idea, and then I work really hard on that idea, and it takes me about 3 months to work on a presentation, and then that's the presentation that I give for the year. And I always try to think of these themes or things that I want to talk about. And so Mark emails me and says, I want you to come to Cologne and speak at my conference. And he says, the name of my conference is Beyond Tellerrand. I was like, well, what the fuck does that mean? And he says, it's Beyond Play. And I was like, oh shit, that's great, because I'm going to talk about that. So I thought that I would take this time to talk about play, because I think it's happening right now, and it's also very important. So my talk is Beyond Play, and we'll get into this as we have our little love session for an hour. So where does it all begin? This is sort of where the story begins. I went to Catholic school, and I went to St. Mary's. It was like 1980, and it was in Littleton, Colorado. I was probably about 9 years old. I was in 3rd grade, and the location is the playground. And I would run out to the playground, and there'd be like all this shit that you could do. There was like a football, and there was a hula hoop, and there was a soccer ball, and there was people playing dodgeball and kickball, and I'm the fucker that grabs the stick. So I grabbed this stick, and what I would do is I would push all of the gravel out of the way, and I would take the stick and I would start carving things in the dirt. And kids would come over and say, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'd be like, "You're not going to believe this. There's fucking dinosaur bones in the playground." And I'd be like, "Check it out. Clearly, I am digging up dinosaurs." So I was very lonely. But this is the earliest recollection I have of creating stuff, of making stuff. And I thought, this is fucking great. Like, I'm an accidental archaeologist. I'm discovering dinosaur bones. The nuns are going to fucking love this. And maybe I'll just get straight A's. School will be really, really easy. So they called my parents, and they said, "Your son's fucking weird." He's got this thing with making things. And so I would do these drawings for book reports and all this other stuff. So this is kind of like the earliest recollection I have of being creative, of wanting to make things. And so again, I was like in the 3rd grade. I was about 9 years old, and my parents actually went out and bought me an oil painting set. Turpentine at 9. It answers a lot. I'll just say that, fucking turpentine at 9 years old. Holy shit. Crayons would have been cool, but I had oils and turpentine at 9. So what I want to talk about is work, and right, because we all do this thing called work, and I don't want to just talk about work. I really want to talk about work, the word, right? So what happens is I tell my wife, I said, "Hey, I'm going to go do Mark's thing in Cologne, and I'm going to give this talk called Beyond Play." And so I said, I think I'm going to do this presentation on play. And my wife says, Okay, but how is that going to help people who are doing work? No one wants to fucking hear that you play Minecraft all day long. People have to work for a living. And so she's like, I was like, well, what do you mean? I was shocked, and she says, well, play is the opposite of work, and people have to work for a living, so why the fuck would you go to Cologne and talk about play? You're not going to help these people. And I almost wanted it. I think I punched her. I probably punched her. And now I sleep in a different room, and I have a restraining order. So I conducted this experiment, and here's what I did. I just asked 20 adults. I went to 20 adults, like people like you, and I just said, I'm fucking like really freaking out right now because I want to ask you this question. I want you to tell me what is the opposite of work. And every adult that I asked said the same exact thing. They said, the opposite of work is play. And now I'm really starting to freak out because that wasn't my answer. And I was thinking, holy shit, like, fucking, what's wrong with me? Like, these 20 people said that the opposite of work is play, and I don't believe that. And so I was trying to figure out if this was true everywhere. So I asked my kid, who's 9 years old. And then I went to Twitter and Facebook. If you're following me on Twitter and Facebook, and if you have kids, you heard me ask you to conduct this experiment with your kids. If you helped me, thank you. It ends up that I asked 100 children the same exact question. And out of that 100, only 3 said play. Most of them said lazy. Most of them said fucking home. If you're not working, fucker must be home. Relaxed, boring. Love that one. A couple of people said hard. And I'm thinking, the opposite of work is hard? What the fuck are they talking about? And so I had to ask these kids, like, like hard, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean, hard? And basically, the answer that I got is that if you weren't working, then you were doing nothing. And doing nothing or sitting still is really fucking hard. Now, hard was interesting because I ended up asking a school teacher, and the school teacher said that when they would go around the classroom for kindergartners and first graders and second graders, they would always encourage them by saying, oh, what great work you're doing, even though clearly they were just coloring or playing. So they were promoting play by saying what good work you were doing. So many of these kids thought, well, God, if you're not doing work, then that must suck, so it would be hard. If they were 7 and under, very zen, not work was the common response, which I thought was awesome. So just by conducting this test, I figured then we're wrong. That, in fact, work and play aren't antonyms, but they're synonyms. They're two things that want to come and work together. And I realized that yes, I work, but what I'm really doing is playing, and I'm trying new things, and I'm failing, and then trying more things, and then those things work. And ultimately, somebody says, here's money for that thing that you're playing with. And that's how that works. So I want to talk about this guy. Yeah. Mark. God, we're going to make fun of Mark for a little bit. Oh, come on. Yeah, that's not fair. All right, let's talk about Mark. So the interesting thing is this anomaly has been happening, right? Check it the fuck out. Flash Forum Conference, FFK, becomes beyond tellerrand. FITC, fuck off. It's flash in the can. No. It's future innovation, technology, creativity. Flash on the beach becomes reasons. Flash Belt becomes the I.O. Festival, and most people don't know that OFF actually stands for Online Flash Film Festival. So holy shit, what is going on? There's this huge major shift happening right now in our industry where we're walking away from this evil word, right? And it made me start to think a little bit that I said, words can be a funny thing. For a long time, we had this word flash. And what flash meant that it was commonly associated with experimentation and creative play, But now we've got all these new technologies emerging, like processing, open frameworks. You have Cinder, you have HTML5, you have WebGL. You have all these technologies that are happening that basically are trying to foster creative play. Now, HTML5, fuck off. Listen, it's been the same fucking thing for years. We've just called it something different. Don't fuck with me, okay? Look, I mean, come on. One of the names just stuck, okay? HTML, DHTML, XHTML, Web 2.0, fuck off. It's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Stop fisting me. Now I'm happy for you, but it's not new. It's been here for a long time, right? But the point is that our industry is looking for a new way to define creative play. Now, whether HTML5 is 10 years behind Flash, who gives a shit, right? The truth of the matter is that we're just experimenting and playing, and I think that that's a good thing, okay? So, let's not have this fight about, blah, 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 fuck off, right? We're looking for new ways to define this sort of creative play. So where was I? Yeah, rant. Mark, yes. So Mark, obviously throws this conference in Cologne, Germany, and if you've had a chance, you've got to go see this fucking thing. Has anybody been up this thing? Have you gone to the top and vomited because you realize how fucking out of shape you are? Yeah. And then you get to the top and there's some 86-year-old man that's been there for 20 years and climbs this fucking thing every morning. And you're just like, fuck, come on. What are you, 90? The Dome Cloister, yeah. Or as I like to call, Evil Cathedral, which, love Evil Cathedral. It's fucking evil. It's evil. But the point is that, my play typically doesn't start here. This is just the tool in which this play gets executed. And the truth of the matter is, I'm going to go, and I freak out. I am not good to tour with. I freak out all the time. Stained glass, you're like, holy shit, it's fucking Saturn. Are you shitting me? That's science. The church hates science. What the fuck? It's, You don't want to tour with me. We get thrown out really quick. But I can go to these things and I can be inspired. I can be inspired to think of ways to play with this box that holds tools and technology. And so I try things. So it ends up that I buy this film, and this film is for silk screeners. And what you do is you'd make your graphics, and you'd print out on this film in black, and then you can burn your screens. So I ended up buying all this film to see if I could print color on it. And it ends up, it fucking works really well. So by freaking out and getting thrown out of Evil Cathedral, I can be inspired to play with these ideas. And so I'm using this film, and you can digitally print. This goes right into my digital printer. And it's nice because it's slightly transparent, so you can see the world that's happening outside, which kind of becomes part of the collage. And then also it will cast color onto the floor. And then the reverse is that if at nighttime you're lighting it from the inside, then you're sort of creating this light box from the outside. So play, I'm trying these ideas. These are experiments, and I don't get paid to do these. These are just things that I need to do to try to discover something. And if you've been in the Dome Cloister, whoa, somebody had an orgasm on the floor. I'm pretty sure there was some guy, he was the tile guy, and he was just always like, oh, fucking hell, just... That's what happened. He basically orgasmed on the floor. And I freak out. And I'm like, oh shit, guy orgasmed on the floor! And, I get thrown out. And the floors are bananas, you know. And I can look at this and say, well, okay, well, you know, this is good, but, you know, this is all done by hand. But it inspires me to go back and use technology to try to replicate these things that I see on the floor to try to come up with my new, you know, different mutations. And of course, this is just different iterations of the same software, you know, being fed hand-drawn drawings to come up with, you know, these things that maybe I wouldn't know how to do by hand. And sometimes I take a little bit more time and try to compose them in Illustrator to come up with movements. And again, but this is just play. This is just exercise for me to explore color and form. There's no monetary value in any of this, right? So I'm in the dome cluster, and of course I freak out on the floor. The floors are just amazing. And the day I'm supposed to fly home, I spoke here, the day I flew home, Mark flipped some fucking switch, and we were all trapped. So I'm trapped in Germany for like 7 other days, you know, and I'm at Mark's house, and I'm drawing dragons for his kids, and walking through the woods, and it was great. I quite liked it. Wife, not so much, but I thought it was awesome. So anyway, so Mark says to me, listen, I need you to help me carry some stuff, so let's go into the cellar. I said, you fucking have a cellar? Oh, all right. So we walk downstairs into his basement. Holy shit! This is in this fucker's basement. This is Mark's house. And I'm like, holy crap! Holy crap! Are you fucking kidding me? When you bought this house, did you like freak out? We're like, holy shit! I've got original Josh Davis on the floor. I freaked. And it's sort of always being open to this accidental inspiration, you know? Like I'm always ready. I'm always ready for something to you know, fire in my brain that gives me an idea. And you always have to be open to this sort of accidental inspiration. And so I started doing all these grid patterns based on Mark's floor. You know, I just like, I've got to go to the kitchen. What are you doing? Shush, fuck off. You know, just what are you doing? I'm coating your floor. Fuck off. Leave me alone. I miss Josh. He's crazy. He comes over and does stupid shit. Yeah. So this is all based on Mark's floor. Being open to that accidental inspiration. Now, again, these are just exercises in play. This is just to keep figuring out what interests me. And what happens is that Hector, who runs the Off Festival, says, hey, you know, we've got this book cover job. Do you want to do it? Oh, yeah. Have you seen Mark's floor? We're going to fucking put that on a book. And so what happens is that this creative play finds itself into work. Work and play they're the same thing. And so I end up making this book jacket. There's the spine, you know, on the front and the back, all inspired by this sort of creative play that I'm constantly trying to engage myself in. And again, it can be something as stupid as Mark's cellar floor. I have to be totally open to this kind of accidental inspiration. Now, the floor, great. But hotel carpets? Holy fucking hell. I have such a love affair with hotel carpets. I can't even begin to tell you how much they excite me. Because I'm convinced that you have to be really fucking high on drugs to have that job. And I imagine the job interview is really interesting. You know, it's kind of like, are you a designer? Yes. Are you on acid? Yes. You're hired. It can't be any other way. Now, the only thing I love more than my hotel carpet is my fucking shoes. For the people who came up today and wanted to take my picture and then just took a picture of my shoes, very funny. I love my shoes. I love these shoes. Do you know why I love these shoes? Because they are the first ones that I wanted to buy. You know, right? My mom always used to buy my shoes for me, and then this is like the first pair that I wanted to buy, like when I was like 9 or 10. So this is like my permanent connection to being a fucking kid, right? And it hits the ground, you know? It's like these child shoes are the things that guide me across the earth. And every time I look down, I'm like, I'm 9. I love these shoes. So, of course, Mark starts some shit with me. And he says, oh, you like Vans, huh? I said, yeah, I've got a bit of a love affair with Vans. And he says, well, yeah? Well, I got 6 pair. I went, oh, yeah? Well, I've got 22. Yeah. Even the snowboard boots, fucking Vans. Oh, and look at poor Mark. Oh. 20-6. Winner, Davis, right? So I'm thinking this challenge is over, right? And then look what this fucker sends me. He's like, hey, I've got more of a connection to a kid than you. And I went, are you fucking kidding me? You are not going to win this. So, yeah, bit of an obsession with skateboarding. Now, I've been skateboarding ever since I was 12. In 89, 90, I was sponsored. So I traveled around the United States and did contests and demos and stuff, and that was super cool. And I'll be a skater until the day I die. It defines me. It's who I am. Some of you will get that, some of you won't. And so, of course, I had a midlife crisis, and I built a half pipe in my backyard. So at 40, I went to my wife and I said, we've got a huge problem. And she said, what's the problem? And I said, well, I'm building a half pipe in the backyard. and she said, well, at least it's not a motorcycle. And I went, that's next year. So I built a half pipe in my backyard, and it was awesome because I remember I went into the wood place where you buy the wood. And I said to the guy, I said, hey, I'm building a half pipe in my backyard, and I don't know how much wood I need to get, and if I buy too much, can I bring it back? And the guy's like, yes, no problem, you can bring the wood back. It ends up that I didn't have enough wood, so I had to go back to the guy, and I said, hey, I didn't get enough wood, I need to buy more wood. And he said, oh, how is the half pipe coming for your kids? Oh, no, it's for me. Now, you may be wondering who the chalk outline is. That's Jerry from Influxus. Jerry came over to visit, and he said, I totally want to try this. And I went, no, that's not a good idea. And he said, no, I just want to sit on the flat bottom and kind of like do this thing, you know? So I said, oh, okay. So Jerry got on the skateboard, and the skateboard proceeded to do one of that. And Jerry sort of fell to the ground very slowly. It was like slow motion. And then Jerry got up and said, I think I've hurt my arm. And I went, fuck off. You didn't hurt your arm. He's like, yeah, I think I hurt my arm. I'm like, fucking suck it up, dude. You fell. Big deal. He says, no. And he rolls up his sleeve, and he had broken his elbow in 4 places. That's Jerry's arm now. He completely destroyed his elbow, so that's his arm now. So the lesson is that if you're going to come over, can you fall someplace else so that I can fill up the ramp with bodies? Don't fall where Jerry fell. Move over a little bit and do something maybe more dramatic. because I really want to fill it up. Yeah. Anyway, skateboarding. So this is last year. I teach a workshop up in Aspen, Colorado. And again, I still skateboard, even today. And for me, like, this relates to design. You know, I've sort of been telling this quote, which is, you know, skateboarding and design are very similar to me. It's about sort of arriving at a place that's totally unknown, sort of assessing everything, assessing the transition, assessing the space, and then trying to design elegant movement within that space. You know, I've got to figure out what this line is. I've got to figure out what walls I have to hit in order to get as high as I can in order to get that coping. And for design is very similar for that. You know, I've got to fail. I've got to fuck up in order to find my way. And so skateboarding and design go hand in hand for me. This is last year. I was 39. It's the highest air I've ever done, which is about 9 feet. And falling really sucks. So don't fall. I think Mark's kid, I showed him this photo, and he was shocked because he said I was too old to skateboard. And I showed him this photo, and he said, "You're just holding on to the tree." So I punched him. So yeah, skateboarding, you know, directly relates to the design I do. So play. You have to give yourself projects. How many people give themselves projects? Clearly, everyone's hand should have gone up. Fuck off. Right? When you're in school, this is what my teachers did. They gave me things to do. They gave me things to do that were outside of my comfort zone so that I was trying things to find my way. Why have you stopped doing that? I have to do this all the time. I have to give myself projects. This was at a conference in Buenos Aires, and this is Alejandro Paul, who's an amazing type designer, and the girl blonde there is Marion Benches, who's another amazing designer. And the conference organizer organized this party at a bar, and every table had these hundreds of these paper masks and markers, and all of us would sort of meet at this place and create together. And it was just sort of amazing, the sort of things that unfolded. You know, the ways that we were expressing ourselves was very playful and very fun, and it was great. So I'm constantly giving myself projects, and I'll do things, and I'm obsessed, and I'm obsessed and I hate myself all at the same time. So not only do I give myself projects, but they're impossible. I'll say, okay, Josh, you know, you've got this grid, and you have to stay within that grid. How many different things can you come up with using this grid system? And so you'll see down here are just some drawings that I've done that somehow adhere to that grid up at the top. And I'll try to see, and you know, there's no deadline with this stuff. I'll usually, it's open, you know, a month later I'll open this back up again and make a few more things. And in that, I keep things fun, and I keep things different and foreign. And then I try things like taking those drawings and putting them into like a kaleidoscope, for example. And I'll look at these simple forms and see what other kind of forms I can find by remixing these shapes. So the one that I'm particularly interested in is the shape in the middle here. And I can then pull that shape out, and now I have a new shape. And like a feedback loop, I can take that shape and put it back into the same system to get something different again. And so I'm constantly trying these really simple rule sets. And I love these kind of exercises. And doing that, you know, I stumble upon crazy shit like this, where I'll end up making these things that are impossible. And they're all using technology and play to get here. And I've always told this story, and I love this story. My first computer was a Commodore 64, right? It was in the 80s, and I played this game, A Bard's Tale, you know? It was like 1985, I think it was, you know? You had to type everything. It'd be like, you've reached a mountain pass. There was a rock. There was a sign. Pick up rock. You cannot pick up rock. Fuck rock. You can't fuck rock. You know, it was amazing. You cannot fuck rock. I love that. And the point is that You know, when I was drawing as a kid, my hand was amazing. If you gave me a pen and a piece of paper, the things that I could do with this tool far surpassed the Commodore 64. And now, with technology, there are things that I can do with programming environments and with products that people like Adobe put out that I can far surpass the human hand. I don't know how to make this. If you give me a piece and a paper and a pencil, I wouldn't even begin to know how to do this. And this is my love of technology, of being able to create something that far surpasses the human hand. However, I have to remember that all of this is a screen, and I'm always wanting to get out of being digital. And so I'm always giving myself exercises to get away from the computer. And so this year I'm doing a series of workshops called From Digital to Physical, where we're using technology, but then leaving that technology and bringing things into the real world. And I'll talk a little bit more about a project I'm doing this July. So printing the stuff out, you know, even though each one of those panels is a program, just getting it out on paper is something that I enjoy, because the way the ink sinks into the paper, and it's depending on the kind of paper you use, it takes on a very different life than it does in the screen. So I constantly have to get these things out and into physical to sort of feel sane, because if I stare at the screen too long, I feel like I'm trapped by it. So this is all generative print on paper. And so what I do is every July I do this workshop in Aspen, Colorado, and I take on 10 artists, and we basically program, and it's really open. You can use a lot of different technologies, and we want to take those technologies and get them to physical. So last year we wrote a bunch of programs and then outputted those programs to film and then burned them on silkscreen and pulled silkscreen. So we were writing software with the sole intention of pulling ink through a silkscreen. And it was great because while the print itself was generated by a program, you'd get these wonderful accidents where, like on the top left, you see too much ink got pulled through. And that's fine, because that's what it wanted to do. That's part of the process. And sometimes this computer can be so perfect that we deny ourselves these sort of wonderful analog accidents. And being able to do these kind of exercises where we're pulling ink through a screen is really awesome. So of course I'm looking at this and I'm thinking two things. One, if fucking Black Flag ever gets together, I totally got their logo. All right, not a lot of Black Flag fans in the audience. It's fine. You're gonna be okay. Second thing is holy shit, those are skateboards. So I took those things and I ended up putting them on skateboards. And so I worked out these prints and I put them on a skateboard, and I was like, yeah, man, that's gonna be a totally killer skateboard. And it ends up that the woman that runs the program in Aspen at Anderson Ranch said, hey, can you come with me for a minute? Because I think I have an idea. And we went over to the wood shop, and I ended up meeting this guy, Jason, who runs the wood shop at this ranch that I teach this workshop. And it ends up that they have a CNC router that takes Illustrator files and will etch the patterns into wood. So this July, I think I only have 3 seats left, so if you're gonna fucking party with me, you should book it now. This July, we're actually gonna be writing software, outputting to Illustrator, and then going over to the wood shop for 2 days. And I have 40 blank skateboards up at the ranch, and each workshop participant is gonna be able to etch 3 skateboards. So we're doing this whole workshop where writing software, starting with this wonderful technology, but then getting back to physical and analog, and actually spending 2 days in the wood shop, which is awesome. So this wonderful reconnection back to this thing that I love, which is skateboarding. And again, I want to be open, and I want to, take random paths and see where they take me. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to buy these skateboards for this workshop. I'm going to buy 40 of them, and I'm going to send 30 to the ranch, and I want 10 sent to me. So I had 10 of these boards sent to my studio, and been going through the process of trying to hand draw these. So what I would do is I would take a sander and sand the bottom of the deck, and was going to draw on it. And I hate this. I really hate this. So I did this test on paper, right? I hadn't drawn in like 10 years because I got so used to this thing that I took a lot of stuff for granted. So I started drawing on paper again. And there's no undo. There's no make new layer and move around. Right? And I'm like in a panic. I would like sit there with the pen like, holy crap, the universe depends on this stroke. But think about that. It made me start to think about how like lazy I am with digital tools because nothing has any importance. I just fucking make a new layer. And if I don't like it, I just fucking hide that layer. Then move it a little bit to the left. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. Like nothing has any purpose. Everything is throwaway because it can be wherever. And so I didn't really realize how captive I was to the technology until I started doing stuff back on paper again. And it sucks. It's painful because if I fuck up, I fuck up. And new piece of paper. So I've been going back and trying to redraw. And so this is like a little test on paper. And it's been frightening. And I've been using this guy, which I love. It's fucking called Time Saver. How amazing is that? What are you doing? Making circles. It's taking forever. You need the Time Saver. It's holy shit. So this is my best friend, this little tool, helping me save time. So it's fun to switch, fuck HTML5. Get yourself one of these bastards. Tools, that's what we're talking about, tools. Not religion, tools. And it's just been great to get back to, so I'm doing this series of skulls, and I'm doing this on paper, and it's amazing that I've spent so much time programming, I've spent so much time doing generative programming that it's actually changed the way I draw. I now am almost thinking recursively as I draw, which is pretty fucking frightening. But I'm thinking about patterns and reflection and recursion. I'm thinking about all these things that I do in programming in drawing. And so this is sort of a project that I've been working on now for a few weeks where just trying to get back to drawing and trying to be petrified that every mark I make is permanent. And at any moment, I could totally fuck this up. And that's been really frightening, but also something that I think I need to do. So, tools, right? This is my new sander. Sander 5. It's Belt Sander 5. It's new. And sanding these skateboards. And so I started drawing these and using archival ink. And you have to sand the skateboard so that it soaks into the wood because the varnish just repels the ink. So you have to go through this initial process of sanding. And I just thought I would show these big because I've been posting these on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm kind of updating this project that I'm working on. But sometimes Instagram is so small, you really can't see some of the detail. That it's not perfect. There are tons of mistakes, and it's just from far away, it looks like the illusion of I know what I'm doing. But there are tons of mistakes. So Mark, says, oh, great, bring that to Germany, I'll take it. I went, fuck off. And then I brought it. So Mark is now the owner of the skateboard. I'll give you his address. You can totally break in. He has no alarm system. It literally is just sitting on his kitchen counter. You can totally steal it. So the point is keep it simple. You know, all the play that I engage in, all the projects that I give myself, they always start simply. And here I'm using L systems, which is a really great thing to play with, to keep it simple. Like start these really simple ideas and just see what happens. And a lot of times, I don't show people this stuff, but this is just stuff that I do, like in the studio, to try to see if I'm feeling anything. And most of the time I fuck up, and this happens. And fuck-ups generally are the things that I love the most. Because like, whoa, clearly I did not close that for loop properly. And it sort of explodes. And I try to figure out a way to sort of harness these fuck-ups. And again, through these exercises, I might get just like this simple little tiny thing. And I think, what can I do with that? And so what I did was I took the shape and thought, can I make a typeface out of it? So I ended up moving the shape up on the very top there and just moving it over and see if I could actually construct letters out of this, out of the shape. Because I'm not a type designer, but I try. I try. So what I did was you might be wondering, well, whose bones? So I love doing this, and I want you all to try this. SoundCloud, is SoundCloud like really big in Europe? Yeah? I don't know. I'm dumb. So I go onto SoundCloud, and what I do is I search for new music, and I try to search for music that's just done by kids. So I found this guy in Florida named Jim Romano who goes by Bones. So I found his music, and I really enjoyed his music. And so, unbeknownst to this kid, I designed his whole brand identity. I designed his logos, I did a bunch of like Illustrator layouts, and then I mailed this kid and sent him a whole package. I said, okay, here's your new logo. Listen, I need you to use these kind of graphics, but don't use blue. Just don't use blue. Just keep it black and white. So, and this kid's like, I won't use blue. I won't use blue. Holy shit. And so I ended up like making all this graphics for this kid. And this is like a really good exercise. Go on to SoundCloud, listen to some music, be inspired by that music, and then whatever you make, give to the kid. Because one day, he's going to be famous. And that equals future business. So hopefully this kid hits it big time because he's going to come to me. And so, again, these are just some outputs from this play session. Just kind of working out these little patterns, these little ideas. And they're just random and isolated. And so I take these things and I'm just compiling them, and then, eventually I work out a print. And so I, make these prints. And so I sell these prints. You have to have a little bit of money, okay? These printers in US dollars are around $3,000 to $5,000, okay? In US dollars. I don't know what they are in euro, but 2,000 euros? Okay. The point is that it ends up that you can buy the printer, you can buy the paper, you can fill it with ink, and if you have enough of an audience that likes the artwork that you're doing, I keep selling these posters for like $20, $20, $20. In a very short period of time, it pays off that initial investment. And so now, I make a little bit of money. It's not a lot, but I make a little bit of money every month playing, coming up with play, and then selling that play as posters that people hang on their walls. Just a really good exercise. So, again, a little investment, but still honoring play. Collaboration. There are some awesome people in this room that maybe you haven't met yet. And you have to embrace collaboration. Collaboration is very important for me because for me, it helps me step away from ego. It lets me look at somebody else who's doing things completely different than I do. And there's so much that you can learn by getting away from yourself and embracing collaboration. This is me and my daughter. I would make these drawings, and then we would go in the basement, and we would color them. And I was trying to teach her watercolor, and you can see that the fish on the bottom is me. And of course, I'm like, the scales must be perfect. Red, orange, yellow, red, orange, yellow. And my daughter's like, fucking green head to red head to purple head to orange head. We're going to make the water rainbow. And I'm just like, okay. So at one point, I tell her to paint the head of my fish because clearly I was fucking it up. Embracing collaboration helps me get away from myself and do things differently. And if I can collaborate with people who are way outside of my comfort zone, usually the better the results. So 2 people I want to talk about, Sarah Blake, amazing illustrator. HelloZoe.com is her website. Amazing an illustrator, and she does this sort of hybrid between pencil, ink, watercolor, and Photoshop. And she'll do these just really beautiful forms. So we collaborate. Oh man, that's it. I got to tell the phone story. I'm in Munich, Germany, and this guy, like right over here, his phone goes off. And I thought I would be cute and say hello in Japanese. So I stepped over to him and I said, "Mushi mushi." And if you're not German, about 700 Germans in the room slammed back into their chairs and all the air sucked out of the hall. And I thought, that was weird. And afterwards, the conference organizer came up to me and said, "I can't believe you said what you said to that guy in the front row." And I said, "What did I say?" I said hello in Japanese. He said, "No, you called him pussy." Twice. So I kind of have this fantasy that Germans go to Japan and report back that all they talk about is pussy. Don't be cute. Don't be cute in Japanese. So these are some of her drawings, and I've been working with oscillators, like using sine and cosine to sort of do these like spiral twists. And again, it's like the farther I can get away from what I do, the better the results. You know, most of the time I'm drawing everything on my Wacom tablet, and everything is vector, and everything's very clean, and it's sort of nice to be working with transparent PNGs and using this sort of analog painterly texture that's not part of my work and trying to collaborate. So collaboration is really, really important to me, and I'm also very open to it. So if you want to collaborate, email me, because I always like the opportunity to get away from what I'm doing. Now, I can't talk about collaboration with talking about Chuck Anderson. Chuck is a really good friend, and he's a guy I really admire, and he's got some amazing stories. This is his drawing in the back. Really amazing illustrator, and he'll do these things like this, and he'll just give me these as Photoshop files, which is painful because then I have to vectorize them, and then I meticulously try to pull out some of the forms and shapes that he's using, and just trying these exercises where reflecting some of his drawings, just flipping it, and seeing what kind of new patterns we can come up with. And it's from this set that I got the ideas for the skull. If you end up looking, I'm like, oh my God, there's a skull right there on the bottom. There's the eyes, there's the mouth. Again, being open to that accidental inspiration. And if I had never done this project, I don't think I would have ever realized this project. So I got to tell you some stories about Chuck. Chuck was 19 years old when he gave his first presentation. And it was at Semi-Permanent in New York City. He had an hour to give a talk, and he gets up in front of all of you, And he starts talking. He was really nervous. It was his first time ever giving a presentation. And he had like this slide up, with some artwork. And he's talking, and he's talking, and he's talking, and he's talking, and he's really talking. He's talking like for a really fucking long time. And finally, like you could see this person like kind of tiptoe out of the background and said, "Chuck, you have 5 minutes left." He had talked for 50 minutes straight and never left his first slide. So he was so nervous. He said, he's like, I've got 5 minutes left? Okay. So what happened is I've only got 5 minutes. I really like that one. That one was cool. It was blue. And he went through like 1,000 slides in like 3 minutes, and then he was like, "Thank you," and walked off. And everyone was like, "Holy crap! Holy crap!" It was amazing. But Chuck told a story that I've got to tell you. I said to Chuck, "How, like you're a great illustrator, you're a great graphic designer, but you're 19 years old. How did you get your start?" And he said, "Here's what I did. I went to the bookstore, and at the bookstore, they've got this magazine rack. And so I walked over to the magazine rack, and I grabbed all the magazines, and they had a coffee shop in the bookstore. And you didn't have to buy the magazines. You could sit the fuck down with all of those magazines." And I started going through every magazine and finding the creative director's name and email, and I wrote it in a book. So I thought, okay, John Smith, okay. Went through hundreds of magazines. And I said, well, some magazines don't have the email address. Well, what did you do? And he said, oh, well, I just wrote down their first name and their last name. And I had this book, and I did it with like hundreds and hundreds of magazines. And then I just put all the magazines back. And then I just walked out of the store with all this stuff in the book. And what I did is I went through that list and I emailed every single person in the list and said, "Hey, I'm Chuck Anderson. I like your magazine. I do artwork. Here is my artwork. Maybe we can do something together. Hi, my name is Chuck. I like your magazine." And I said, well, okay, but what did you do without the people that had an email address? And he says, well, I did john.smith@magazine.com. And then it would get kicked back to me. So then I would do j.smith@magazine.com. And I would keep doing that until it didn't come back. And I would say, that's their fucking email. I said, holy shit. And I said, so how many people did you email? Hundreds. I said, how many of them emailed you back? 70% emailed me back. And I said, out of that 70%, how many people hired you? And he went, almost half. In fact, 1 month I had 9 pieces in 9 separate magazines in 1 month. Guess how much it cost? Nothing. All it cost was a trip to the bookstore and writing down the email addresses. I love that story. I love that idea of getting out there, And, he's doing exactly what I'm trying to do, which is experiment and play and tell the world, this is what I fucking do. If you like it, you can call me, And I get to do these kind of things for clients. They pay me to do things that I would do anyway, even if they didn't pay me to do them. And that's kind of the joy. And here's an installation that I did in Lisbon, Portugal, where I'm reaching out to a company in Montreal called Float 4, and wasn't very good at C++, and these guys were really great at C++, and so we ended up rewriting this in C++ to get this done. This installation at this festival, and it's just no money, just a shitload of work, but broadcasting to a community, like broadcasting to a community, the types of things that I like to make, So I play. This is what I do. I sit at home and make this shit. This is all made up of roosters. And I do that so I can tell everybody that this whole page is filled with cock. There's a lot of cock on that page. It's a lot of cock. But these are the things I do. Now, here's the secret. I've got a secret for you. This is the secret. The type of work you make is the type of work you get hired to do. If you make lame, boring shit, guess what? You're going to get hired to do lame, boring shit. And this is the big secret. I worked for a studio. I did things that weren't me. But then I went home and I made all these things that I like to make. And what happened is that it switched. And I was getting job offers to make the things that I wanted to make, even if these people didn't pay me to do it. That's the secret. Make what you love. And love what you make. Not everybody's going to like it, but I like it, so fuck off. So, when you do that, fuckers like this call. And this guy says, hey, you're crazy. Let's do stuff together. So this is my new client, and this is the part where I wrap play into work. Play becomes work. And he starts doing things like, I got a lot of LEDs. And I remove all my clothes. I get naked. And I poop. I shit and I pee all over the place. I freak out. Wow, that was a weird graphic. Forget that. But, I get these opportunities where I get to do these things. And so now I'm sort of programming these new kind of brand identities for deadmau5. So this is an exercise that I started working on. He wanted to do stuff with gears. This is for his European tour where he wanted to split his head in half and have half of it be all gears. And all of a sudden, play becomes work, and work is play. They're the same thing. Doing this all in color. And now I have to make a confession. I haven't talked about technology, but in January, I switched to processing. So now I'm only working in processing now, and it's been an amazing and scary experience. There's enough similar that you're like, I totally know what I'm doing. And then there's enough different that you're like, what the fuck am I doing? But I have moved into processing. Processing is really great. It's got the ability to load in SVG. So I work with SVG elements that I design in Illustrator, and then I'm able to record video and print out vector graphics from this. And so this was kind of like the first exercise that I started working with for deadmau5. It's coming up with this kind of brand language, and it's play. I'm working out ideas, and I would send these ideas over to him, and we would collaborate on what he was feeling, and then we would start talking about color and playing with color, and then eventually we got into this movement that we like. So I've sort of constructed this whole generative kind of brand identity for deadmau5 for 2012 around this exercises in creative play. And from that, we did a series of headphones. These will come out in June, where I'm doing the graphics along the band of the headphones. So we're doing product. We're getting from digital back to physical, which is great. Doing stuff like stage shows, doing stuff like posters, and working out ideas in print. And again, these are just oh yeah, it's going to load a lot of QuickTimes right now, so it's going to go a little slow. 1 second. There we go. Bless you, Gesundheit. So here's Joel in his studio. Hold on, it's loading a shitload of QuickTimes right now. Keynote gets a little weird. So here's us Skyping. His new head that he wears, the head is full LEDs. And it ends up that the screen on it takes 56 by 48 pixel animations. So I'm doing all these animations, 58 pixels by 46 pixels, and they get outputted as PNG sequences. And those PNG sequences get packaged into this special .mouse file that he can play around the surface of the head. And so he's got a MIDI controller, so while he's on stage, he can actually trigger all of these animations. So in processing, I've been working out these like little tiny 58 by 48 little animations that he can trigger over the surface of the head. And so again, I don't think I ever would have gotten this job if I wasn't expressing myself with creative play, if I wasn't putting out to the world the types of things that I was interested in making. And so it ends up that he redesigns his penthouse, and he asked if I would design a piece for his house. And so it just so happened that I actually had a piece already finished from a few years ago. And so his living room, he's got one of my biggest prints, which is, it's about 2 meters by 4 meters maybe, 2 meters by 5 meters. It's big. So this is his house. So not only do I get paid to do work for his stage show, but he also gets to live with my work, which is cool. So that's it. So I was thinking, like, how would I wrap all of this up? It would be great if I could find something that summed this all up. And it ends up that I find this quote by Mark Twain, and he says, "Work and play are words used to describe the same thing under different conditions." And I thought, thank you, Mark Twain. That's perfect. We have to play. You have to play. If you keep grinding on work, it'll just kill you. So with that, thank you for having me. Let's go party. Thank you.